Sigma's original art lenses are known for three things: stellar image quality, size, and weight. The original art lenses produce beautiful images, but feel large and heavy on compact mirrorless camera bodies. Today, we've got our hands on Sigma's latest addition to their mirrorless version of their art series lenses, the 50mm DGDN art lens for E-Mount and L-Mount. The 50mm is the 9th lens in their DGDN art lens set. Like its predecessors, the 50mm DGDN art lens is much lighter than its DSLR counterpart and features an electronically controlled de-clickable aperture ring. This makes the DGDN lenses great hybrid lenses for people who like to take photos and videos. The 50mm art lens has an aperture range from f1.4 to 16, is comprised of 14 elements in 11 groups, and features 11 rounded aperture blades. The additional aperture blades provide beautiful round bokeh, as seen in our test footage here. The new lens also controls flares and maintains contrast well in difficult scenarios. However, we did find that the lens breathes quite a bit, so it's something to keep an eye on for video shooters. As expected, when compared to the original art lenses, we found the new 50mm matched or exceeded the previous model across the board. One area we see a lot of improvement in is handling. The 50mm lens measures 3.1 by 4.3 inches and weighs about 1.4 pounds, which is 0.4 pounds lighter than the previous model. The new lens may be a little longer than the original, but the reduction in weight goes a long way to help it feel balanced for anyone using it handheld or on a gimbal. Despite being lighter, the lens still feels very solid and features a durable brass mount along with both dust and splash resistance. The Sigma lens ships with a lens hood and is stored in a case for protection. Photographers will appreciate its fast and reliable focusing capabilities thanks to its high-speed linear actuator. The HSLA helps the lens focus both quickly and quietly when tracking subjects. For those who prefer manual focus, they will appreciate that the lens can be switched between linear and non-linear on compatible L-mount camera bodies. Manual shooters will also appreciate the dedicated aperture ring. Personally, I love dedicated aperture rings. Unlike assignable control rings, the dedicated aperture ring has hard stops at either end of the range, making it much easier to operate without looking at the ring. The auto setting features a catch that's just tough enough to prevent shooters from accidentally switching to automatic. My favorite feature on this lens is the click switch for the aperture. This is my first time working with one of Sigma's DGDN lenses, so I was a little skeptical on how I would feel about an electronically controlled aperture ring, but ultimately, I found it to work very well. The aperture ring is very responsive, and thanks to the fact that it has hard stops at either end, all movements are linear, making it much easier to get a feel for where each aperture value is. We used a variable ND to perform an aperture rack to blur out the background and draw attention to our subject, and it worked very well. Just note that the electronically controlled aperture ring is not as fast as a mechanical one, so it'll take a bit of practice to compensate for the discrepancy. One thing I found very intriguing about the electronically controlled aperture is the ability to use auto exposure modes for video. Traditionally, the biggest reason videographers avoid using auto exposure is because photo lenses adjust aperture incrementally instead of gradually. This will result in unnatural changes in brightness when transitioning from a dark to a bright environment or vice versa. But on a de-clicked lens, like the 50mm DGDN art, that isn't a problem. This is an excellent feature for anyone who wants to use their camera on a gimbal. Going from an indoor shot to an outdoor shot is as simple as walking through the door. The lens automatically adjusted the aperture so smoothly it's barely noticeable. The 50mm DGDN art lenses are excellent hybrid lenses for anyone who shoots both video and stills. Like Sigma's other DGDN lenses, the 50mm feels balanced on mirrorless cameras whether you plan to use it handheld or on gimbals. The lens renders sharp images with consistent performance across the frame, even when wide open at f1.4. And finally, the dedicated aperture ring provides more control to anyone who prefers to control their lenses the old-fashioned way. Whether you're a photographer or videographer, a Sony fanboy, or a member of the L-Mount Alliance, Sigma's new 50mm DGDN art lenses deliver on the exceptional quality we've come to expect from Sigma's flagship lenses. What are your thoughts on Sigma's 50mm DGDN art lenses? Do you appreciate lenses with de-clicked aperture rings as much as I do? Let us know in the comments below. I'm Jabari with B&H. Have a jubilant day.